one more time to our band for that beautiful song, that beautiful voice. Thank you to everybody who came here this morning to be with us, to celebrate in community and in communion, to celebrate good. Another word would be God, and love and joy and wellness. And one of the most beautiful people that I have met in this community, I think, is sitting right over here somewhere. And so Jessica and her new beautiful baby Sadie and Ed, I just want to take a moment. We have a tradition at Agape where we like to bless people. And what an opportunity this would be to just take a moment and bless this beautiful newcomer who's come into our world. So I think you said that we're live streaming right here? Okay. Is that right there? Okay, so if we could all just tilt a little bit, you don't have to really turn, but just kind of turn. And one of the things we do at Agape is we extend our heart through our hands, and we just hold our hands up like this. And we're just going to take a moment and offer a blessing, and just to recognize that something magnificent has taken place, that as we are all members of a community that honor the light and the love and the miraculous, omni-amorous, omnipotent light of God, and that this beautiful angel that has come into the world, Sadie, that her beloved parents, that Jessica and Ed have said yes to yet another child, which, as I mentioned earlier, I think they need to change their name to Brady because they now have 3 boys and 3 girls. And so we're so grateful to just take a moment to extend our hearts through our hands and welcome Sadie to the world. And we offer a blessing to come streaming forth, for we know there is no time and space. And we bless Sadie with the most magnificent light and life, and know that she's come into a world that is fully supported by a family that allows her to grow up and be exactly and never less and always more of who she truly is. And so we bless the entire family with wellness and goodness, with love and joy, with happiness and grace. And we just simply and gratefully allow it to be by saying, and so it is.
So it is.
Amen. It's so nice to be here again. I'm so grateful to Patricia for this beautiful center and for her new grandbaby. So you got your hands full. And so we're just going to bless again, just know that everything in the family is going to be amazing, and that's part of what community does. My talk today is about basically the good or the remarkable gains from loss, which ties into the theme of the month, which is removing our masks. And I think it's important to kind of understand first, well, I guess I'll just back up for a moment. And some of you know me a little bit, and some of you don't know me. And I think it's important to know that prior to 2001, and I think because we're coming up on Halloween, I used to be amongst the Walking Dead. I used to be what you could kind of call a zombie. And what that is, before zombies were really popular. And what that means is that I was really asleep and living from my ego. And I didn't really know it. I had journeyed through life up into my mid-30s, and I was really asleep at the wheel. And I was allowing myself to live from reactions. And reactions are simply that when you have certain trauma stored in your energy body, like maybe, let's say, just for example, you had a fear of heights. And so that anything that would limit you from being who you really are, and this is where, taking off our masks starts to reveal who we really are. And so we know that our spiritual teachings and the New Thought traditions and the Centers of Spiritual Living at Agape, we come from a long lineage of truth teachings that honor, we call ourselves a trans-denominational community because we honor the truth teachings, the golden thread that's found in all the religions. So whether it's in Buddhism, Hinduism, Christianity, Judaism, Islam, there's a golden thread. And one thing they all share is that we're all born in the image and likeness of God. And so when we come into this world, it's important to understand, we don't always oftentimes get a user's manual on how to navigate through the world. And so one of the things that we sometimes fall short on is understanding the language of God as it pertains to us individually, as it pertains to us collectively. And so to be able to understand that is pretty important if you want to thrive. And so thriving is very important to me. And so let's just say you had that fear of heights, and that is just kind of an example of a trauma that could reside. When it's dormant, it resides in your energy body. Just dormant. So let's say you are out and about and you're just walking down the street and it's dormant, but it's still there and it obstructs the flow of chi, it obstructs the flow of prana, but you might not notice it because you're feeling relatively okay. But then somebody says like, hey, let's go up to the top of the Empire State Building, and you're like all nervous and you might have a little anxiety or a little adrenaline, you might have a little mental or emotional anguish. That is the language of the divine is built into our energy body to alert us that there's something off, and there's something to be healed. But most of us, when it comes to certain traumas, we tend to want to manage them or control them, and so we will find other ways, either through things like avoiding or numbing ourselves out, and those things just tend to exacerbate. So then all of a sudden that fear becomes dormant again, and we start to lose track of where we are, and if we start navigating through life collecting those things and trying to manage those impurities or those traumas that reside in our energy body, life becomes more degenerative. And if you go down the degenerative path, things starts to kind of close in, and then as we get older, some of the warning signs are cynicism, pessimism, judging, doubt, worries, fear. Those are all the signs that life is kind of diminishing on us, or we're becoming more of a degenerate. And in our truth teachings, the whole idea is to become more aware of becoming a regenerate and allowing life to expand and to grow. And so part of the thing that we want to do is we want to start embodying the practices that help us do that. And so in the theme of the morning today, or the theme of the month, being able to move behind the mask. So I used to be, when I was a zombie, and the years leading up to that, I used to be kind of the king of avoiding or putting on masks. You might not know it now, but one of the masks I wore back then, especially like when I was in high school, my early 20s, is I was kind of cool. And I was definitely not one of those people that would be talking about God or anything in the New Thought arena, because I was just too cool for that. And one of the masks I wore to hide some of my insecurities was that I would always wear the latest fashion. I was on the cutting edge, and I was up to date with everything that was cool and in. And I was hiding a perceived deficiency within my beingness because I didn't believe in myself. I didn't believe in who I really was. I didn't even know who I really was. And so that was one of the masks that as I got older and as I woke up, which I'm a late bloomer because I woke up in my mid-30s, I started to wake up to the reality of who I really am. And I'm still waking up to that. And I encourage us all to be able to wake up to that. And so it's important to understand the language of God as it pertains to our life. And it also is important to understand that, as Patricia said earlier, all of our perceptions, which are influenced by our beliefs, and everything we believe, everything we perceive, is stored in a database in our energy body, and it's stored in the mental layer of our human energy field. That's where our beliefs are stored. And our beliefs and our perceptions, and they kind of work on each other. So whatever I believe is what I'm going to perceive, and also what I perceive is going to feed what I believe. So if I go down a road and I'm believing that, let's just say that, the 405 is full of traffic, which can be very true because there's a lot of collective consciousness around that. But believe it or not, there is a way that you can start to know and embody that wherever you go, whenever you're on the road and whatever you're doing, that traffic is flowing free and moving, and that might seem a little out there for some of us, especially if you've been on the 405. But actually, the universe will start to coagulate around what you believe. And you want to start to become aware that you get to choose what you believe, and you've already chosen everything that you believe right now. And some people aren't aware of what they really believe. There's a lot of people out there, oh yeah, I know I believe in this or I believe in that, but they don't really have a clear understanding, and it's through our practices of meditation and prayer that we start to become more attuned and more aligned and be able to slow down and say, like, oh, what do I really believe? So it's important to kind of have an understanding of the language of God and how it works in your life. Because many of us spend a lot of time misinterpreting or misunderstanding providence or divine directioning. And so to understand the difference between a mask and being a divine emanation that represents a quality of God. So if you could imagine for a moment, let's just say like the sun represents God. And it's shining on a prism that represents your life. And then that prism starts to refract out the colors of the rainbow. You've got your red and your green and your blues, and all of those colors are refracting. But they're all part of the one. All of those colors are part of the one, but we're refracting them out. So you could all of a sudden say, let's just say, red represents vitality and wellness and eternality and goodness. And so all of a sudden you could step into a quality of God, which is part of who you really are, which is, it wouldn't be a mask, but you're kind of zeroing in on one specific quality. And versus doing, what I did, which was starting to put on these different masks to cover up perceived deficiencies. So I need to look a particular way in order for people to love me. That's a very limiting or very diminished way of being in the world. And we want to step into, I'm imagining, we all want to step into a greater and grander vision of our lives. So one of the things that I realized when I was moving through and learning all of these teachings was that years ago when I woke up, probably about a year into it, I had done a lot of healing and a lot of cleansing of trauma from my energy body, a lot of erroneous ideas and erroneous beliefs, and starting just with the intention that you want to grow and allow more life force to move through your body. Because every erroneous belief that is stored in the database of your energy field inhibits the flow of chi and life force, and therefore starts to kind of diminish us. And so you normally see that typically in the aging process. As we get older, there are certain ideas, and there's a lot of them that we call race conscious ideas that are floating around. They're like, oh, when you get into your 40s, then you're gonna need, your eyes are gonna go, and then this is gonna happen, and then when you get into your 50s, you gotta do this and that and stuff. And so that's all part of a mass consciousness that people are starting to buy into. And so what if you didn't buy into some of that stuff? What if aging for you was a whole different, more beautiful, graceful, rejuvenating, regenerative process? And that you lived fully and wholly and vibrantly every moment of every day as we got older. We're headed that way. There are a lot of people on the earth, or some people purportedly on the earth right now, that are, living well into their 150s. We call them the Siddha saints. Many of them are on the planet right now that have surrendered to a life of God that allows the aging process, because it is stress, it is worry, it's doubts, it's fears, it's concern that create aging. And so we are, in most ideas and philosophies, not that we need to be living a tremendously long time on this planet, because there is something to be said about moving on. But, but it's not about that. It's about the quality of life while we're here. It's about, because it really, to me, it's not about how long I live, it's how well I live. And so when we start to embrace the qualities of God and allow ourselves to become liberated, we start to embody, and that's the key thing, because in our teachings, we have a lot of, we are connected to the truth teachings of eternal life. So we know that we go from life to life, that we are eternal beings of light created in the image and likeness of God, which sounds really nice, but what does that mean to you? Are you experiencing it? Do you really know? Do you really know from the inside out and from the outside in that you're born in the image and likeness of God? And it is a fascinating idea to contemplate this and bring it into your experience. And so we bring it into our experience through the embodiment. Embodiment has everything to do with how we perceive life and how we can change our perceptions of life. And so in the human experience, the physical, the emotional, and the mental bodies. And the mental body is what kind of governs the human experience. But there's a consciousness that is transcendent to that, transcendent to the surface mind, that lives outside of time and space. And so as we move into that higher consciousness of our own being through meditation and through prayer, we start to be able to observe. And we also get to start to, from this higher level of consciousness, we can kind of look at ourselves and just go, oh, okay, hey, what's going on in my life? And we can start to see, like, what do I want to change? Who do I even want to be? And allow your heart to start to communicate to you and allow your higher self to communicate to you who you are and what is seeking to emerge. And as Reverend Michael often refers to, the being either pulled by the vision of your life or being pushed by the pain. So the good news is that every single one of us, we're all going to make it. We're all going to be realized. We're already whole, perfect, and complete. To the degree that we experience that in the human form, that's where the difference is. And so to be able to come to a place where we observe ourselves and start to make conscious choices on how we want to liberate ourselves. And so it would be as simple as, like, okay, whether it applies to relationships or money or wellness, it's like, well, where am I? And without making myself bad or wrong, and then being able to say, okay, where would I like to be? And then start to use the technology, the spiritual technology of prayer and meditation and community and coming together to be supported in life, to allow yourself to expand into a regenerative experience. And so I just want you to, one of the things that came to me as I started to move through this journey is in the Hebrew Bible, there is a saying that I will return to you the years the locusts have eaten. And when I was younger, I started to develop some misperceptions, and I think I shared a little bit with you this last time I was here, that my relationship with my father was like, and I had some misperceptions that I developed over the time because of the way he brought me up. And he was a good guy, he was a good man, and I love him dearly. But I developed some perceptions that he didn't love me, and couldn't tell you why. Back then, if you asked me, I said, he kind of loves me. And contrary, in spiritual practice and principle, you can be kind of pregnant. And what I mean by that is you can have a belief that it doesn't have to be 100%. It could be 50%, it could be 40%. So I had a belief, there was a part of me that knew my dad loved me, but there was a big part of me that thought my dad didn't love me. And so as I started to do my work, and dig in there, and I wanted to have a really good relationship with my father. I took him as a case study, and I just said, because what I had been doing was I started to veer away from my relationship with him, and I was practicing the art of avoiding, which doesn't help anything. And so I decided that I was going to really make a difference through prayer and through intention to have a real quality relationship with him. And what came to me as I started to choose this and pray, and I didn't have to ask him to do anything. I had to do all the work on myself. And as I'm clearing out, all of a sudden, I got taken into this zone. So it's really important to know that your energy body keeps a record of everything in your life, all of your beliefs, all of your perceptions, everything's in there, and it keeps track of it from every direction. And what I mean by that, so if you know in Hollywood, one of the things that happens in Hollywood is when they go to film a movie or a television show, they've got multiple cameras. You might have up to 5 cameras coming in from different areas that are giving you a different perception. And so as I was taken back and the healing was occurring because I'm allowing the divine to move through me to allow a healing to take place, all of a sudden I was showing that I was viewing life through camera one, and camera one was taking me down this rabbit hole of non-love, diminishing, degenerative lifestyles. Because in that camera view, my perception was that things were bad or getting worse, or that I wasn't loved. And as I started to open up to providence and divine directioning with regards to my relationship with my Father, all of a sudden, in meditation, in prayer, I was taken to a place where camera two started to reveal itself. So even though you have a memory right now about an old situation or circumstance that brings up a particular feeling about it, that feeds a belief, as you start to embody the truth, the perception the real truth perception that was coming in from camera 2 or camera 3 back when that situation arose will start to reveal itself. So just because you're in a situation and you're not experiencing love or cooperation or prosperity with someone or something, doesn't mean it's not happening. And so you're glued to an old paradigm of that's the way it was and I can prove it. And it's like, but wait a minute, if you're willing to let go of that, if you're willing to surrender, if you're willing to lose that perception, then you'll be inviting yourself into a gain. And the gain is that the perception of love is always there. We're just not always tuned into it. And all of a sudden, the floodgates opened. And all of these perceptions of grace and beauty and love that I didn't remember started flooding it in, and it completely changed. It's a quantum experience where it goes back in time and it starts to recoagulate where you are right now. And then all of a sudden, now all of your memories are good. And it's like, whoa, something magical just happened. And so I just want you to be open to whatever your perceptions are right now. Be willing to let them go. For if you're willing to allow yourself to lose that which does not work for you, you will gain tremendously. And so I'm just going to go ahead and close with just inviting everybody to join with me in a few more affirmations. Because it's really important to declare what you are allowing yourself to embody. And sometimes as you activate it, then all of a sudden you're going to see this ripple effect in your life. So I'm just going to invite you to go ahead and just join me and say, I know myself as God knows me.
I know myself as God knows me.
Holy and pure.
Holy and pure.
I love myself as God loves me.
I love myself as God loves me.
I see and love everyone as God sees and loves them.
I see and love everyone as God sees and loves them.
I am in awe of the beauty in, as, and around me.
I am in awe of the beauty that is and around me.
And I always live and express from my eternal, infinite God self.
I always express my eternal and infinite God self.
I want to write those down.
We can do that one again. I always live and express from my eternal, infinite God self.
I always live and express from my eternal, infinite God self.
I think we got it. So if I were going to just nutshell everything I was talking about just now, the truth is that we live at the consequence of every choice we've ever made. And there's a database like the Akashic records of your own energy body. The mental body controls the human experience, but you have dominion over your mental body. And as we rise above the mental body, which is where the subconscious, so usually when we're in the mental body, we're using the upper 10%, and the other 90% that's stored in the subconscious is what is running the show. So very much like a virus on a computer, we want to start to get in there and just say like, hey, what's going on? Move into a higher place of consciousness in our higher mind and move above and say, okay, I'm going to start making new choices, because really what we're going to be doing is we're going to be unlearning, unchoosing, and re-choosing the life that we want to live. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to have to do the work, which is to start applying that which all the sages, all the masters, all the gurus, all of the wise ones throughout all the centuries, because we are, as Yeshua, also known as Jesus, said, "These and greater things ye shall do." And so I just want to invite everybody, and it's super, it's something that we make challenging and complicated sometimes. But really, as you practice the art of surrender, and if you surrender aright, if you pray aright, if you choose aright, that will ripple out, and the effects will show up in miraculous ways where you will get the God winks and feel like you're on celestial candid camera going like, whoa, what just happened? Because you will truly manipulate and change the space-time continuum of your life and open to ever-expanding good in your life, because what else matters? It matters that it's happening in your life. So to allow more good, more love, more joy, more prosperity, more wellness, more vitality, that's what we're all seeking, whether we know it or not. So I'm just going to invite you to join me as we turn within, and how good it is to take this moment and to allow ourselves to let go of any sense of efforting or trying, and open to the infinite grace, the infinite good, the infinite love, the omni-amorous light of God, and allow it to rise up from within us. For as we remember that we are born in the image and likeness of God, as we allow ourselves to truly know that in our feet, in our hands, closer to us than our neck vein, we allow ourselves to know the truth of our own magnificence, our own divinity, our own purity, and allow it to rise to the forefront of our awareness, of our thoughts in our lives. And we allow good and more good, love and more love, joy and more joy to have its way with us. We allow ourselves to be inspired, to be motivated and enthusiasted by the light of love, goodness, wellness, joy, and grace. I'm truly grateful to know that everybody here has within them the ability, the capabilities to do this and more. And from a place of gratitude and thanksgiving, knowing that God loves us beyond our wildest dreams, that we love us beyond our wildest dreams, and that we are loved beyond our wildest dreams, and that we are allowing ourselves to know it, I release this prayer gratefully, humbly, joyfully, into that magnificent law, and we release into the answered prayer of more goodness by saying and accepting it, and so it is. Amen. Thank you, thank you. At this time I'd like to invite the